Today's guest, I'm super excited for. It's Adam Hoots. He's the founder of Construction ACHE Solutions and the self proclaimed lean construction shepherd. He's got over 14 years in the field and is now pursuing a PhD at Clemson. So he's soon to be Dr. Hoots, which I am so here for all of that branding. But you do a lot, Adam, and I am excited because I want to dive into all the things that you do, but also because your name was dropped a lot for like a year in my world before we ever connected. So I was like, who is this guy? And then we did connect, and you are the most down to earth, just like genuine good human being when we first connected. And I was just like, this is awesome. This guy deserves for his name to be dropped constantly, all the time, in all corners of the omniverse. So, hi, thanks for joining us today.
Is this the part where I blush, Miss Samantha? Thank you for that intro. I don't think feel like I
Yeah.
deserve half of that, but I am grateful. I have learned a lot in the field. I've been beat up quite a bit. Another decade than what you said, though. You said 14. It's more like 24. I started in high school. No, no, you're good. Don't be sorry. It's like one of those things that's like, do you correct or not? And that's just
Yeah.
important to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've learned mostly coming up boots on the ground, and I wasn't treated real well, not respected real well, and made it my life's mission to be able to change the way that happens in construction. So here I am, taking the academic route, getting my, butt kicked left and right, going through the grinder, and still working in the field on a job site 4 days a week and just loving it. But I am
Yeah.
so happy to be here with you, and to hear you say all those things does make me feel way, way uncomfortable. So, but thank you.
You know what though? Those are the people that like the people that deserve that recognition are the people that are don't want to be in the spotlight, right? And then the people that do want to be in the spotlight, it's like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to talk about you. But okay. And on top of that, you're a family guy. You've got right. So you're a dad on top of all the academic and work stuff. But let's go back to my correction because I'm not afraid to admit that hey, I was wrong and you called me out on that. So let's capitalize on that moment. You started in high school. What were you doing in high school in the field? Like, what was your job?
So when I would turn 17 on my birthday, I got this like big wrapped box with a bow, it was like professionally wrapped, and I had been asking my parents for a Mustang for like 4 years. I wanted a Mustang so bad, and I knew there were Mustang keys in that box. And so I like ripped it open, and I saw the first thing I saw was a hard hat, and I'm like, oh boy. And my dad is in construction, been in construction his whole life. So anyway, I go to unwrap that whole thing. I have a hard hat, boots, gloves, vest, and a stack of job applications for all of my father's trade partners. And so I'm like flipping through them, and I'm like, ooh, I want to be a plumber. And my dad started laughing at me, and I didn't know what that laugh meant until a couple months later when I was standing in sewage because nobody else would get in that hole. So yeah, that was kind of I got I think my dad did it just from a work ethic perspective. Like,
Yeah.
hey, most of your summers you're just sitting around doing nothing, running around getting in trouble. You're going to work, and so I failed at it too. It was miserable. I hated it. I often tell this story riding home one summer day after being in that sewage hole, and I drove a black Z24 Chevrolet Cavalier with windows that didn't roll down and air conditioning that didn't work in Orlando, Florida in the summertime. And I like still remember the just pungent smell and going home. Like I didn't even respect myself, let alone did the guys who put me in that hole respect me. And
Mm.
the leaders of the job didn't even know my name. And so again, that just like that memory and thought has never left my mind. And it's like I have guys on the job site now that are in those holes, and I want them to know how appreciative I am because I don't want to be in that hole anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I want to get into this because when we first connected, you'd made comments of you feel like maybe you frame it as like you failed as a plumber, right? And then like that kind of sparked other parts of your career. But on like a connection point here, my first job, also at 17, My mom was like, if you want to, I didn't get my own car, but she was like, if you want to drive my car, you got to pay for your insurance, which was going to be like $80 a month or something. And at the time, I was dancing and cheering. I was like, okay, well, I got to drop one of those because I need to have something sometime in the evenings to go work. And a Waffle House opened up down the street from me. And so my first job, let me tell you, I mean, like standing in sewage, that's a humbling experience that I never want to have. And I would say my humbling experience is just working evenings and weekends and double shifts at a Waffle House. Like that'll give you some motivation in life, let me tell you. But also,
Respect.
I'm a foodie, so like the free waffles, definitely very excited about that, you know? And
That is
like
my son's favorite meal, believe it or not. We love us some Waffle House in the household.
oh my gosh. Well, I mean, I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, so if, like in the South, Waffle House and the sweet tea is
Yes.
respected, but it's not so good out here in Colorado. I'm like, where's my Publix? I need my fried chicken. I need my Zaxby's, but we don't have that.
The
Anyway,
good
I
old
digress.
fashioned pub sub. Yeah, I'm from Florida. I know all
Yeah,
about that. Yeah.
man, like I mean, like you just your mom doesn't feel like cooking on a Friday night. You go to Publix, you get a rotisserie chicken, two sides, the little King Hawaiian buns, and some soda. Like that's a good Friday night right there. But
Amen. Now prepare it with a movie and we're off to the races. Let's have it.
yes. Okay, so you started out standing in sewage. We're like, okay,
Yeah.
who respects me in life? Do I respect myself? Is this what my life is going to be? Is this what I can expect from the blue collar world? And you also feel like you know, hey, we kind of failed at that chapter. So walk me through what happened next.
Yeah, I definitely failed at that chapter. It was way too hard for me. And, you know, I was going through a little bit of that first year harassment too, right? So that wears on me. So I finished that. And really, again, my father, I think, did that to drive me to go to school and be a productive member of a college university. And so I did that. I went to the University of South Florida. Kind of wanted to be an architect at first until one X-Acto cut knife. Later, I got like one of those rolling knives, making a model and just rolled right over my finger. And then the second I saw bone, I said, "This isn't for me. I'm done." That healed up. Went to my advisor and was like, "Hey, like, how do I just get out of here? I don't want to be in school. This isn't for me. I'm done. Let's go." And so she was like, "Well, you're like 5 classes away from a communications degree." And I was like, "Perfect. Sign me up. Let's do it. I want it." And so that was a public and cultural communications class. Little did I know how much that would help me in the field, being that since the time I went in to the industry until today, that immigrant population, primarily Mexican, Spanish, Southern Central American descent, has already doubled the makeup of our industry. And so, like, this public and cultural communication thing has been such a blessing in my life. And then, as part of the curriculum for that degree, I had to take an interview communications class. And so we had to get a mock interview and go through this like whole sample thing. You had to get an executive locally. So first phone call, "Hey Dad, like who with Whiting Turner is over here that I can interview with?" And so I got to interview with the vice president for Whiting Turner, and then I walked out with a job. I walked out. Most people have a engineering degree or construction management degree. I did not. I had a public and cultural communications degree. So they started me as an assistant project engineer. I was the great ape, they called me on the job site because I did my thing. I made it happen. Quick funny story there. I had an intern working, I'll say with me, but he was kind of my right hand. If I couldn't get something done, he did it. He got hired on and he was a project engineer and became my boss. So like, and he still works at Whiting Turner. God bless him. Justin Barry, so much respect for him. He's a senior PM now. We kind of leveled out, but yeah, so I did that. Worked for Whiting Turner for 10 to 15 years, traveling the country, building clean rooms, high tech laboratory type spaces, stem cell research facility. I helped build a facility that housed the atomic clock in North America, some AIDS research in Port St. Lucie, Florida. So I've been a part of some really cool, interesting projects. But I always noticed like there was this push at the end to get the job done, and it hurt and it was painful. And those who put the 60, 70, 80 hours a week in and came home painting and, covered in drywall, those were the people getting rewarded. And the people who were finishing jobs on time weren't getting rewarded in the same way. And so it really made me start to think like, lighting traders got some scheduling problems. They don't know how to plan work. And so I said, I'm done. Like, I want to go work for DPR, this other lean construction organization that forward thinking, like they got it figured out. And I got over there and realized it's an industry problem that we don't plan our work to the level of detail that we need to in order to respect the people doing the work. We don't know or respect the laws or physics of production. I mean, there's a book called Factory Physics that you can take every bit of that knowledge and apply it to the construction industry, and we're doing everything wrong, right? We open up as much work as we possibly can at once. We don't finish anything. We want large batches. We don't optimize to our bottleneck. When variation happens, we just find something else, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And then when projects go late, what do? We add more people, and Brooks' law tells us that that just makes the project go longer. And so I started to learn these things like this production and physics, like for production, and figured out like how do we apply that to construction. And again, I realized that it's not one company, it's a whole industry, and that there's an actual market here. And so I started coaching teams, and I'm very passionate about that word coaching because I believe consultants like to have all the answers, give all the answers. And in what we do, there's so much variation, and you can't plan for everything that you have to be a coach on the sideline, observing with the team in order to make real life audibles. And so, um, yeah, when I realized that market was there, um, yeah, I started coaching teams, and I've again coached a lot of high profile teams to the tune of like $4.5 billion worth of coaching services. Those are the project values, not my income. And so I've found, IPI, and I've got this wonderful opportunity to actually have an area I can still practice 4 days a week. I work away from the office the fifth day a week on Tuesdays. I get to go to Clemson. I teach a class called The Human Side of Construction. I co-instruct a class called The Human Side of Construction in the fall, and then Building High Performing Teams in the spring. I do that with Dr. Tom Fedurick. Um, it is the third wheel to that, the third leg to that class is mindfulness in construction, taught by Dr. Laura Cooley. And those three classes together form what Clemson calls the Human-Centered Construction Leadership Certificate. And so yeah, that's kind of how I've gotten to this seat. I've had some kidney issues. I've had a couple kidney transplants, kind of going through all that as well. Dialysis for a couple of years, started making some bracelets to represent my faith in a more powerful way. And um,
Mm.
I wrote a book while on dialysis with the OG lean builder, Mr. Buddy Brumley. God rest his soul. One of the OG old dogs as well. And we've got a community of old dogs that we run with, 20 to 30 superintendents nationwide that cross companies sharing knowledge on what we're doing on each other's jobs. Because let's face it, as superintendents, you're in a field office on a job site removed from most of your team, and it's lonely and it sucks, and it's a leading contributor to our mental health crisis right now. Um, and so we get these people together and we just share secrets, and we leave these bi-weekly meetings with just so much energy and passion and care and love for one another. It's a special thing. So I'll pause for your
Yeah.
reflection because I just dropped a lot on you.
I mean, I'm writing. I'm trying to keep up. There's a lot happening there that I am is really cool that I want to dive into. So let's start with we talked about the physics of production, and is that I haven't read that book, right? And so, but that's bringing like the first thought in my mind is all like the manufacturing Toyota, kind of the origins of lean, right? Is what's coming to mind there. So are those principles going to be really similar to lean leadership in like the Lean Six Sigma world?
100%. And we're failing at the same rates that the lean manufacturing failed as well.
Yeah.
Yes, I think Bob Emiliani has written that 95% of lean transformations fail. And the
Mm.
main reason for that is that leaders won't give up their status rights and privileges that they've earned over time to the people doing the work. And we find that very, very common in construction. I think maybe even more common because it's so much easier to, represent your status right and privilege on a job site, right? I don't use that restroom. I don't eat on that picnic table outside under the sun. Like I'm in the air behind a computer, right? That's so easy to do in this business and to not like, truly understand the experience of the workers on the job, that person in the hole in the sewage putting the two pipes together, like yeah, that person also uses a porta john in 90-degree weather on a hot summer day. Like that, it sucks. And
Yeah.
we're doing things. The industry is getting better. We are improving. I don't want to leave that, lose sight of that. But our current conditions
No,
are
but
rough.
I would agree, and I'm not going to name names, but I you definitely see the people that they're kind of all bark, no bite, and they say like, oh yeah, like our people, our culture is what makes us special, people first leadership, all this cool stuff, and it's they got ego coming out the wazoo on them, and I'm just like, man, if like every lean project could start with like a how to not have an ego, how to not be a jackass while we try to achieve your goals kind of course, crash course, like that 95% failure rate, I don't think would be there. But it's really hard, right? Because I mean, companies are paying those lean consultants for certain results. And even in the lean world, the way you go about a project can sometimes be very structured and not like the flexible, adaptable problem solving that you really need to achieve those goals. And so there was something interesting on that you kind of hinted at when you were shitting on the word consulting. You're like, you like the word coaching, and because you have to kind of assess those problems in real time and really go out to the job site and see what's happening. And so for me, that's telling me like, hey, you know your stuff, but or you know your stuff and you're also incredibly comfortable with the idea of vulnerability and that you might not have all the answers at first, but you're still confident that you can find a solution.
Yeah, so let's call a timeout real fast because you used a couple of words that I can't stand. You said the word culture, which really just drives me crazy
Mm.
for the reason you're talking about, because a lot of companies say beer in the fridge, ping pong table in the break room. We got a great culture here. It's like, if that's what every person wants in your organization, if that's how they define culture by beer and ping pong, then sure. But I have a sneaking suspicion it's bigger than that. You also said vulnerability. It's something that I practice with Jesse Hernandez and the emotional bungee jumping group. We practice that in the old dogs too, but I don't call it emotional bungee jumpers because nobody would show up. I call it leadership via transparency. Um, and so, both of those words make me a little bit uncomfortable. I guess the way that I would put it is that, and this is coming a little bit out of my research, but construction is a socio-technical business. And we, as construction professionals, are really good at that technical side of the business and, going out there and it's either right or it's wrong, black or white. Does it check the box? Is it structurally sound? Do you have something to fasten to? Is the, when I hit the thermostat down, does the chill water modulate into the degree of air that I need to come out of the unit? And like these are perfect systems, and they either work or they don't. When you get to that other side, that socio side, it is such an imperfect system, and it's such an art, right? It's like an art and a science a little bit, where like, hey, scientifically there is a zero is your answer. With a sociopath, that sounds bad. Not sociopath, like I'm a sociopath, but like down the social route, like the social
Yes.
socio side of things, there's not a right answer. There's a million different ways to inspire, influence, motivate somebody to do something that they generally don't want to do. And so um, it's more of an art and it's more of a trial and error. And I feel like I have had some really good leaders in my life who have done two things. One, modeled what I should be doing, but then more importantly, I've had leaders that have modeled what I shouldn't be doing. And I've been the victim of some of that. And I like again, all the way back to the plumber days, to the great ape day, all the way through, I had these lessons of, wow, that person was really good at the technical side, but they were terrible at the socio side. And vice versa. Like, hey, this person's really good at the socio side, but nothing's getting done technically. Like, and so if you don't have both of those pieces in construction, you're going to be pulling against gravity, right? You're going to be dragging in the water quite a bit, just trying to get anything done.
Yeah, I mean, I always call that the pendulum swing of people that are way too people focused or way too process focused, and they really don't know how to view them as separate things that can work together rather than like just totally separate sides of the spectrum. So I find it interesting though that you're labeling vulnerability as a cringy word, especially as a student of the emotional bungee jumpers, because that's like Jennifer Lacey and Jesse Hernandez's whole thing is like let's be vulnerable. And so, but you are instead phrasing this as, hey, how can we do better with more transparency? So I guess, can you give me some insight to some of like the problems or conversations you've had in the old dogs group, and really how the idea of transparency has transformed how someone then goes about solving a problem?
Yeah, I love that question. So I don't want to kind of break any old dog privileges here. If you know, like client
Yeah,
attorney.
AA,
Yeah.
keep it anonymous. We won't name
Anyway,
names. Called the
we, we've had a lot of really similar uh, uh, like personas at home. A lot of
okay.
us are type A personalities, and we go hard at work, and we're really good at what we do, and we have this socio side like figured out in the field, and at least what works for us anyway. Like maybe not 100% figured out, but we've got it going on. Like we've kind of figured that out. When we get home, there's something about like turning off that go switch and like just being. and and there's a great YouTube video. It's got a wife with a nail in the forehead, and the husband's like, you got a nail. It's not about the nail, right? And she's like, oh, I knit, all my sweaters are nicked, and I got this headache, and what ends up happening is he just wants him to be like, oh, I hear you. I understand what you're going through. And so it's a great video because that is what the emotional bungee jumper leadership via transparency is all about. It's like you may know how to solve it, like just get the nail out of your head, like and it's done. But you telling them to get the nail out of their head doesn't make them want to get the nail out of their head. You're not listening to them. You're not helping them to self-discover what needs to happen. And it's funny, like to bring this back to work and like how does that help a superintendent in the field? Like the number one question that I get asked as a lean coach on a job is, how do I get buy-in on projects? Right? And I'll tell you the way you don't get buy-in on projects is to go around telling everybody about the nails that they have in their forehead, right? The way to get buy-in on a project is to go and ask questions until the person realizes, oh, I got a nail in my forehead. I better get that thing out of there. And so to translate that into field terms, it's like, hey, Samantha, you need to go do framing on column line X19, and it has to be on tomorrow because the doors are coming, right? Like I could tell you that and not be self-aware of my socio lacking side of the business. Or I could say, hey, Samantha, like, you know, we've got doors coming, tomorrow. What is it going to take for you to be ready for those? And that puts a whole nother spin on the same conversation. And so, um, I think it's really about being okay not having every answer. as well. Like there's a component of construction where as we were growing up in this business, and I say we being a, you know, 40-year-old, a little over 40 in the business, white male, right? We were brought up as you don't talk about things. You have every answer. You just strong arm them, or what do they call it? A narcissist does, whatever it is. Like,
Gaslighting or something?
yeah, we just gaslight
Yeah.
them until like they just shut up and go away, and then you have some time to figure out the answer and then make it right. Like, no, it's okay to be like, time out. I don't really know the answer to that question. That's a fabulous question. Let's have a try-storming event to get some answers to that. Like, and
So
I think there's, yeah,
well, I want to jump back a little bit because I I agree with like 99% of what you're saying. What I disagree with is I think how some people have interpreted some of these things in like everyday life. So we can look at this from like construction and like teams, but also just like if we take a step back of like just people in general and go back to like the nail in the head. Now, I'm 28, but I don't associate with people my age most of the time. I mean, like I've got two kids. Like I think I'm hopefully slightly more mature. I mean, I'm kind of chaotic, right? And all over the place, but I'm hopefully
like we
slightly more mature
all,
than the average 28-year-old. And so, but I say that because I grew up in the like kind of the in between of people that never talked about mental health and then people that over talk about mental health. And so, what I see in that scenario a lot of times is like a total lack of any self accountability. And so, in the nail in the head scenario, in that example, yes, the person that is listening, you do have some kind of obligation to like just listen and to try your best to not like just yell at them like, "Hey, you've got a nail in the head," right? And to like be there for that person. But I also think the person with the nail in their head, the person venting, like you've got some accountability to to like own whether are you complaining or are you trying to solve a problem. And I think sometimes like we put all of the pressure on the leader to be this perfect leader and to be like on it as far as that social human side of it, like to always show up in this reflective, slow, like I'm here to understand persona. And we don't put enough accountability on the other person to also have some like, hey, like, am I showing up with my best self today? Am I showing up trying to be the best employee or trying to be the best partner? And like, yeah, there are times I walk in with my husband and I'm like, I just got to vent and I'm venting. And sometimes he forgets that I'm just venting and he wants to problem solve. And I'm like, hey, I don't need problems. I don't need solutions right now. Like I'm venting. And there are times where like he's really good. Like he knows I said I wanted to vent. Sometimes I don't have to say it and he just knows like whatever my composure is, like don't freaking throw an opinion at me right now because I don't want to hear it. Like I want to complain, you know? And so it is kind of give and take, but I my point is like I don't always think that there's enough accountability on the partner, employee, etc., problem complainer side of things to not just be a complainer. I know I'm kind of rambling, but is that tracking?
yeah, I think I get what you're saying, and I think it like very interestingly enough, like I love how you described your midpoint with regards to age, where it's like, hey, these people,
Mm,
me, they were like trained, don't you talk about mental health. You're a sissy. Like that, you got brain problems when you don't have anything to do. Like that's the stuff we heard growing up, right? And then you have like this younger generation that's all about like they could probably name all like, and so I find it fascinating that you kind of related that, right? Because when I talk about my generation, it's like, hey, you know, we were playing outside, no cell phones type generation, and then we got them. So it's like, you know, but I do think that responsibility rests on a leader to show up, ready to listen, or like what you said, at least being willing to ask the question, do you want me to try and solve this problem or should I just listen more? Like, I love the boundary that you set up that, hey, just listen, right? Like, and my wife has gotten to that point too because I'm a terrible, like, just try and fix it. That's what I do. I'm a builder. I fix things. And not everything needs to be fixed. And I don't
mm,
understand that comment at all because if it's broken, it needs to be fixed in my world. Um, but that's not everybody's opinion and thoughts. And so I do like the direct challenge of, hey, look, are you just here to vent, or do you want me to help you with this? Like, or maybe not help, maybe solve this. Like, and so that clarity there goes a long way. But I've also, I've developed what I call the accountability meter as well. And so, I can drop it to you if you want, but it's essentially a way to measure, like as people are coming to you and they're not getting it, or they're not wanting to, um, they're not agreeing or doing what you've asked them to do, right? We're able to weed out the process for the first 3 or 4 questions. Like, am I sure this person knows what I've asked them to do? Yes. Okay. Have I made it very obvious and clear how to do it? Yes. Okay. Can somebody else do this with this direction? Yes. Okay. Now we start looking at the person and we have a crucial conversation. And then we dive into maybe a role modification, right? And then we start back over. And then once we run through it again, if we're still having issues, then it might be time, out of respect for that person and company, to part ways. And so, I use that example as a I guess, way to explain, like, if somebody keeps coming back with the same problem over and over and over again, then maybe, yes, and they just want to vent about the same problem over and over. At some point, it becomes a competence type issue where it's not venting, it's they maybe just don't know what to do. And so I love putting onus on people to be the victors of their lives. Um, but I've also realized that the way I challenge some people, they take offense to it. And I think it's because I'm a little intense, if you haven't been able to tell already. And if that thing is medically related, like me and my wife had this a lot. Like she has type 1 diabetes, and that's a lot of work for her. Like it is really hard. 4 shots a day, testing blood sugars constantly. Like it's hard. I've had 2 kidney transplants and been on dialysis for 3 years. Unfortunately, I don't have much sympathy for that for a medical related issue. I come to work. Like when I'm on dialysis, I go get my service and then I come to work. Like that's what I do. And so um I think as a leader, you really got to check yourself and uh, be self and socially aware, be able to regulate those feelings in those moments in order to focus on the relationship management. Because, if you're only living with your pool of data, you have blind spots and biases that your life has created for you over time. And if you're not aware of those, you might be making that person's problem worse.
Mm. I mean, I first off, like we're gonna take the pause of like praying to Jesus that like that your
Yes.
transplants went well. That
Amen.
even though it's tough on your wife that she is still living and surviving with her diagnosis there. But you're absolutely right. Like we all come with our own kind of set of baggage, and maybe your baggage is not as heavy as somebody else. I mean, I know I've got suitcases and suitcases, some full of bricks. Like my some of my baggage is heavy, and sometimes it's just a little sandbag. I don't know
Yeah.
where I'm going with this metaphor, but yeah, we all come with our own baggage sometimes, and you do have to check yourself. And what I really am inspired by in the way of your phrasing is we're seeing this evolution from your great ape days to now your shepherd days, because you call yourself the lean construction shepherd. And so I want to kind of dissect that a little bit more of how you landed on shepherd. I mean, not all of our listeners are faith based, but I talk about Jesus a lot all the time, as we all should, in my opinion. So shepherd for me is like, hey, you're my guide. Like you're gonna catch me when I mess up. You're gonna give me grace when I mess up, but you're also gonna like show me like, hey, you did mess up and here's the right way. Like, do you want to choose this right way? Right. So that's kind of what that word symbolizes for me. But walk me through kind of that whole branding and definition on your side.
Yeah, so I prayed hard about this. So I was caught between disciple and shepherd. Um,
Mm.
and again, like you said it beautifully. I chose shepherd because I wanted to guide people and not be that light. Like not um it's such a rocky terrain when you're trying to shepherd somebody towards the towards lean construction because um, it's literally sheep everywhere. You have trades everywhere, and you cannot leave one lost in the pasture. You have to get them all, or it doesn't work. And so, uh, I have a quick trick on that, and then I'll dive in deeper. But I call it the jailhouse rule, right? So you walk into the room and you find the biggest, meanest, most person that's going to resist you the most, and you go up to them and you win them over, and you get them on your
Mhm.
side, and you just like build a level of trust where it, they know they're safe in your comfort and your presence, and so. Um, but as far as the lean shepherd thing goes, Jesus, I believe, was the greatest lean coach of them all ever. Like, let's think about the Holy Trinity real fast, right? Like, Jesus was the player on earth, God was the coach on the sideline, and the Holy Spirit was the buzz on the job site, right? And you can feel it when things are aligned and moving. And it takes shepherding to do that. It doesn't take a consultant to do that. It doesn't take a disciple to do that. A disciple, I think, is one who is talking the word and speaking it and preaching it. But a shepherd will go to the pasture, go to where the sheep are, collect the sheep in a very humane manner. Like, you got a dog to help you out. Maybe they're nipping at somebody, but you're not whipping them. You're not shooting them. You're not, hurting them. And you're just trying to kind of guide them in a little bit of a better pasture than what they're in right now. And I think there's some really great metaphors behind that. But to me, it came down to like understanding that the ultimate player coach, because that's what I will always be. I feel like once one becomes a lean consultant and gets their foot off the job site, that you lose a sense of reality to really understand how fast the tasks fly on the job. And you start preaching bullshito, as I call it on the podcast, right? Like, which is that term comes from martial arts, where people were bringing all these different martial arts together and forming their own martial art. And the regular OG martial artists said that's bullshit. And so I feel there are a lot of lean consultants doing the same thing. Maybe they're selling a one tool, or they're selling, one training and development class. And in reality, it's like nobody fits into one box. Like, we have to go to the construction sites. We have to go to the construction management schools, and we have to show them what's not working, what reality is, and help them be able to navigate that terrain the way we've done it. Because again, an old dog isn't an old person by any means, right? An old dog is one who has been through kind of that traditional way of building crash landing projects, getting celebrated for working 80 hours, that stuff I was talking about earlier. They've been through that, and they've found a better way. And that's an old dog who is willing to learn a new way. And I love the play on words that old dogs don't learn new tricks, because guess what? Yes, they do. And so
It's giving me the imagery of like of Ice Cube, right? You've got like his straight out of Compton kind of personality, right? Like you're not gonna mess with him, right? And then you've got like what is like then you've got Friday, and then all like the rom-com family movies that he did. I'm like all those movies, like the titles are blanking from my head, but like he became like this family guy persona, right? It's like, oh, he found like a better way of living, and like that's really cool for him, you know? But what I'm also hearing is like we're equating a consultant with disciple, and a disciple, now granted, like you could try your best to be like the best disciple and best kind of, faithful servant, but really what I'm hearing there is as a disciple, you're saying, okay, like here's my testimony, here's what I think is kind of the answer, and if that resonates with you, awesome, we've got to win. Versus the shepherds, that's like, okay, I know some of the right answers here, but I'm going to meet you where you're at. Like I know the way for you, but I'm gonna if you're not ready for all this, that's okay. Like what's the mustard seed when it comes to lean? Like what baby step can we start with here? For those that are just listening and you can't see Adam, he's blushing and getting me hyped up that I just came up with like a good metaphor that always makes me excited when I can connect the dots. But yeah, like the shepherd is like, okay, I'm gonna adapt to this person because I've got all those. I've got the technical skills, but I also got like the socio human, like I get the people skills as well. Is am I kind of hearing you right there?
You're absolutely nailing it. It's like, hey, I just want you 1% better than you were yesterday. And anybody that argues with getting a little bit better today when they were yesterday, they're not my people. They're fixed mindset. They're not hungry. I'm not going to feed them. They're a sheep that's going to just stand there, right? And so, do I still work on them? Absolutely. Like it might just be, hey, let's just place some literature in front of them and that's it, right? What's the next rightest step? And how can I urge them, motivate them, inspire them to at least know that step? Uh, yeah, I love the idea of the mustard seed, and because that's where it starts is you plant a seed and then you fertilize it with questions until person self discovers nail in head and oh, I wonder if that thing would help. Okay, well I'll try it. Oh wow, that I don't get 100 phone calls now. That daily huddle is awesome. Maybe I will try that visual, right? And so the Lean Builder book does a wonderful job of kind of hoodwinking people into the last planner system by just starting with a daily huddle and then add a picture and then before you know it, full blown last planner. So as long as we're all like 1% better than we were yesterday, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, start small, keep it simple. Like ugh, we're humans. Our natural tendency is to overcomplicate the shit out of life. Like let's try to
You're
not do that.
speaking, so that's one of the production laws. It's Little's Law, and it's an actual
Mhm.
calculation, and it tells you three things. Work in small batches, limit how
Mm.
much you have in process, and finish things as you go. You already
Oh,
know them.
simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we're coming up on time here. So for the person that's listening, the sheep that's listening, and they're a little bit lost, and they're like, I don't know where to start. This all sounds super cool. Like, and I just want to be 1% better tomorrow, but like right now I feel at zero, right? Like, what's your little piece of advice for them?
Yeah, listen to a podcast. Maybe this podcast. You'd be 1% better if you listen to this one. Jesse Hernandez has a wonderful one. Jason Schroeder's got awesome podcasts. Felipe, myself. Like there are wonderful free resources out there. Read a book, right? I actually recently heard this. There's two ways in this world to get wisdom. One, go out and do the thing and gain experience in doing it, and you have wisdom. Two, you go and read texts from people who have gone and done the thing, and then you get wisdom. There is no other way to get wisdom. And oh, by the way, wisdom is just knowledge in action, right? We're doing something with the knowledge that we have. And so it is as simple as a podcast, a book, a phone call. Like 704-230-9180. Call me. Go to school.com/old dog. Sign up for the old dog community. Um, LinkedIn is full of beautiful free information. I have one or two posts a week. No BS with Jen and Jess is a live stream every other Saturday. It has changed my life, right? Like, um, but the easiest, fastest, quickest thing is open a book.
Just start and just be ready to learn, absorb, get rid of the ego, and
Yeah, well,
apply what you're learning.
yeah, that's probably the better place to start is check your mindset. Because if your
Mm.
mindset is fixed, like Carol Dweck has amazing research. She's out of Stanford. She wrote a book called Mindset. You either have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. It's either open or closed. There is no in between. Are you willing to learn something or are you not? And so if you are not, you may want to flip that switch before you go get the podcast book or call me especially. Um, and it's so funny, like how it's very easily recognized what kind of mindset you are in, even when just through a phone call. And I will cut those conversations short, I promise you. So if you don't know, the call test would work well.
There you go. Like he's and we from freaking cutting himself when he was trying to be an engineer to standing in sewage, we all know like when Adam's done, he's done. He's hanging up that phone, y'all. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, soon to be Dr. Hoots, for joining us today. This conversation was freaking awesome.
Yes. Amen, Gal. I appreciate the opportunity. And yeah, just thank you for having me. And you're coming back to my podcast next, Gal. Let's go.
I'm excited. Welcome to Construction Trailblazers, the podcast that gets real about leading people, managing projects, and simplifying growth. I'm Samantha C. I'm Samantha C. Prestidge, and I work with construction teams and leaders and the consultants who serve them who need to untangle their back office chaos and administrative constraints so that they can have less firefighting in their day and more traction. You can pass you can catch our pest you can catch our past episodes at constructiontrailblazers.com and start your journey to excellence.